Welcome to another edition of In the Know. May 1991. It was an exciting time for me. I had just completed 4 grueling years of college. I finally had my diploma in my hand, and I was excited about the next chapter of my life. And the world was filled with possibility. And then tomorrow came. Now, I'm not sure how many other students were in the same situation as I, but I literally had no plans. I had graduated with a degree in biology. I still had a military commitment to the United States Army Reserves since I had just been commissioned as a lieutenant, and I had a responsibility to go to my officer's basis course, which was going to be conducted. It was a 5-month program which was going to be held in the fall. So I knew that my job hunting would not begin until after I came back. So here I am. I graduated in May of 1991. My officer's basic course was in September of 1991, and I had graduated from that course in February of 1992. So after my officer's basic course, for the first time, I had come back to Florida, where I'd gone to college, moved in with one of my friends from college. So now this was when my post-college search in terms of looking for a job officially began. I then spent the next 2 months looking for jobs all over the state of Florida. So after about 2 months of job searching, I found a job. And this job was working for the state of Florida in Tallahassee, Florida, which is about 4 hours away from Tampa. Now, let me tell you, I was lucky because I did not have any furniture and any tables or anything like that. I only had 2 things, my car and my clothes. But starting a new job was not as easy as I thought, considering that I also had to find a place to stay. I had to turn on utilities and things of that nature. Then I actually had to physically relocate there as well. Luckily, my mom and my grandparents helped me. And as a result, I was able to start the first chapter of my journey into being a responsible adult in a new city in Florida with my own place. At the time, I was just excited to have a job, and I was excited to be on my own. Unfortunately, there was another reality that I had to face. I had no idea what I was going to do next with my life. Then about a few months afterwards, I started getting a notification that my student loans were coming due. I was trying to figure out how to balance this new life now with paying bills, including student loans, and trying to figure out how to make my money last, because at this time I was getting paid monthly, so I was living month to month. Despite the challenges, my first year on my own revealed a lot about what my new reality would be. Looking back, I started to realize that during those times, there were a lot of lessons that were taught to me that I definitely want to share with future generations. And of those lessons, there are 5 specific things that really stood out that I wish I would have known then. Number 1, the employer support system is not the same as your university support system. See, when you are attending college, the school is ultimately designed to support you in whatever you need in order to get through college. Of course, everything is based on whether you pay financially, but the fact is, whether you are paying out of pocket, paying through student loans, or on scholarship, the school, the university, the college is there to ensure that you succeed, and they have plenty of things available to you to help you do so. Now, in an employment situation, there is a different support system. However, but in an employment situation, the goals of the organizations are very different. In an employment situation, you are either providing a product or a service, therefore you are doing something for someone else. So the employer support system is only necessary to ensure that you do what you're supposed to do for the customer. At the university, you are the customer. You are the center of the attention, therefore everything is done with you in mind. So it's important to recognize that when you work for someone, you are not the focus as opposed to being in college where you are. Number 2, your job only cares about your success at the job, not your future success. Your job truly wants you to be successful at doing your job. Your job is really not interested in paying attention to whether you want to get a master's or a doctorate degree. Your job really doesn't care if you are interested in getting promoted or taking on more responsibilities. Your job is really not interested in whether you want to relocate or work abroad. Your job's sole focus is ensuring that you provide the best services or products available to the customers that make it possible for you to keep your job. Anything that you do, in terms of what you do individually, is secondary. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some great employers out there that have programs that gives you the ability to explore other options, but it is not the employer's responsibility to encourage you to pursue those other options. Now, some employers do, but you cannot be shocked when you find yourself in a position where the focus is on providing the products and the processes and the services and not on giving you the ability to put yourself in a position to leave the company at some particular point. Number 3, your job needs you only as they need you. Now, I know that sounds weird, but listen when I say this. When I served in the military, there was a phrase that you would often hear. And the phrase was, I quote, "the needs of the military," unquote. In essence, at the end of the day, everything would revolve around what the military needs. Now, don't get me wrong. In a military environment, they want to support their soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and guards by giving them as much possible to ensure success. But at the end of the day, the main priority is always going to be the needs of the military. In an employment situation, it's fairly the same thing. The needs of your employer is always going to take precedence over whatever you need. Now, if you're lucky, your needs coincides with the needs of the company, therefore you both benefit. But if your job needs something that you cannot provide, then your company no longer needs you. If your company decides that your position is no longer necessary, it does not matter that the people at your job like you. If they don't need your position, there is no incentive to keep you on, even if they like you. One of the bigger shockers that a lot of people run across is this perception that they are more valuable to their job than their job views them as being valuable. So it's always important to recognize that your job is only as good as your job needs you. Number 4, your job is not responsible for your life outside of the walls of your job. Now, when you were in college, your university or your college is doing everything as possible to ensure that you have an environment that is rich and culturally fulfilling that will help you expand your life beyond the classroom. Your professors, the staff, employees, they're encouraging you to make relationships, to participate in activities, to study abroad, and doing a host of things beyond the walls of the classroom that keeps you from just merely having your head stuck in the book. This is part of the university and college cultural experience. This is a whole different thing when you're in a workplace, because when you're in a workforce, none of these things apply. Your employer has no interest in knowing what you are doing outside of the workplace as long as what you're doing outside of the workplace does not negatively impact them. In other words, as long as what you're doing outside of the work doesn't negatively impact or affect your job or put your job in a negative light or have to deal with any type of negative perception, they have no incentive to know or do anything or care about what's going on outside of the workplace. In addition, they have no responsibility to promote or encourage you to foster a life outside of the workplace. They are not interested in scheduling any picnics, scheduling any get-together, or any gatherings. They only want to ensure that you are providing the best amount of work and services possible to ensure you're meeting the goals of the company. So it's important for you not to have an expectation that they are going to try to create or promote or foster a life for you outside of the walls of your employment. And 5, your job is not the destination. It is a step along the way. If you are struggling financially and you are able to get employed, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that this job is the destination. Even when you get a job and you tell yourself that you're going to look for other jobs, you may not have a greater incentive to do so because you are in a position where the job you are in probably provides you the things that you need. It provides you with the financial ability to take care of your family, take care of your home, clothing, transportation costs, and all other incidental expenses. What you do not realize is that by taking yourself out of the equation and not doing anything else beyond what you're doing in that job, you're effectively treating this job as the destination, and in some instances, your final destination. As long as you're holding on to your goals and your dreams and aspirations, you will appreciate and recognize that what you're doing at this current time is merely a stepping stone along the way to something better. You treat your job as a stop along the way as opposed to a final destination. I can tell you that my first 3 years out of college was probably the most eye-opening, as I got exposed to a variety of different things that let me know that I needed to adjust how I viewed the world and how I viewed moving through the world in a way that was going to be beneficial for me. Fortunately, I was able to use my job in a way that gave me the ability to transition to things better than my first job. But it was not because of any culture that encouraged me to do so. I was fortunate enough to run across a few strategic persons during my time who opened my eyes to the possibilities. But had those persons not been there, I'm not sure what my pathway would have been. So it's important to recognize that when you make that transition from college life to corporate life, that you recognize that you are more in control of your fate than you realize, and less reliant upon others outside to create that world for you as you did when you were in college. That has been another edition of In the Know, and I thank you, our listening audience, for tuning in. Join us next time for more engaging conversations. I am Tony Reeves, and as always, make sure you are in the know.